so much soul, about to bust out the room. All different flavors, way more than 32. From these shoes, you can't mess with these dudes. Nike Reeboks, about soccer knees. Golden Gooses on dudes, it's crazy. Converse the lab made like easy.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Soul Brother, hosted by yours truly, Flex Luther. And today, guys, we are blessed with a guest. What's up? What's new? And how you feeling, my guy?
What's good, bro? Glad to be on. You know, everybody, how y'all doing? Appreciate y'all watching, listening. It's your man, Ricky Shoebio, visual storyteller, creative director, all-in guy, you know, sneaker, whatever. I don't know what title I have anymore, but, you know, it's grateful to be here, bro.
I like it, man. You know, first off, man, appreciate you, taking time out your day to hop on the Soul Brother podcast, man.
Mhm.
Like I always say, man, time is valuable. We don't know how much we got left of it. So when someone gives me time, I'm like, I truly appreciate that.
Absolutely. Appreciate you thinking of me. Appreciate you having me, bro. Like, definitely looking forward to this conversation. I know it's going to be a good one.
I like it. Well, so let's go ahead and hop into it. What pair did you have on feet today?
I mean, so y'all can't see it all, but I'm in a gray essentials hoodie. I'm keeping it cozy, you know. Got my Joe Fresh goods, you know, black white socks fitted on. And I said, you know what, the grays with the blacks, and we just coming off Air Max month. So, you know, Air Max day, Air Max month. For those that know me, I'm a one guy, and they probably know I was going to bring these out today.
Okay.
So Clark Kent 112s. Clark was a homie. Of course, these are a sample release. This wasn't for the public. I know it's got the foggy air bubble, but I wear my shoes, and these have still been worn enough that I'm good with it. So that elephant print, that black, the premium suede on it, and that gray hit, that 3M, felt it was only right today. So that's what's on feet today, man.
Man, you came out the corner swinging like haymaker, like yo, okay. I mean, okay, so I just got these in. I got the Matrix Saucony in that yellow colorway, also known as I like to call them the Zoolander because that's where I known them from. I finally got these in hand. I didn't get them when they initially released, but I was able to find them for a good price, and here they are in my collection. And just a very unique shoe, and what I like about it is stylish, but it's also comfortable as well.
Yeah.
So
Love that. Saucony's making a lot of moves right now. So
what?
Yeah,
they doing their thing, man. I seen they getting the raffle notifications, and now they're doing raffles and stuff. I was like, okay, I like it. I like it. So yeah, let's just get into it, man. You've already spoke about like you in every avenue. I see you got your hands in everything. So my first question, when people see you at these big events, what don't people understand about you getting in those rooms?
I mean, I'd probably say when people see me there, the biggest thing to remember is like, you know, I'm still often one of us in a space trying to make space for us. So like, you know, not that people don't realize that, but like, you know, it ain't like I get to see a lot of the homies there. Like I see people that I'm good with, but can't say I'm in there with a room full of people I came up with, a room full of peers and stuff like that have come from the same spaces or loves that I have. So like, you know, at times, like, you know, I'm that raisin in the milk sometimes, that soul person holding it down for, you know, for us in the culture. So like grateful to be involved, man. But yeah, man, like pioneering for sure.
So when you're like you speak of like I guess I wouldn't say the pressures, but that noticing that you're kind of out of your element. Do you feel like there's something that you have to do while you're in that room, like something that you I got to leave my mark because I am that raisin within the milk. Like I got to let them know that the raisins out there doing it too.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, I mean it ain't gonna show right now, but everybody that know me in person, like I'm 6'6", dog. So like, you know, I'm 6'6", dark skin, showing up like this to whatever office or whatever space, locks, you know, beard, facial hair, and all that stuff. So like, you know, I walk in and some people think I'm security half the time, and I'm like, you know, security don't dress as well, baby. What you talking about right now? Like, security's, I got a lot of fly security homies, but you know, I'm built different. So like, it's definitely about making that mark and that presence, especially when people like, you know, hear the spaces and niches that you come from. Like, oh, you know, you do stuff with this sneaker brand, you do stuff with the
Mhm.
music space, you do this type of stuff, and it's like, oh well, they're gonna pigeonhole and think of us in one space, but then it's like, nah, but I
Mhm.
also support this. I've also worked with this. I've also done philanthropy work. I've done and focused on giving back. I've spoken at multiple Ivy League schools about how to the youth and other creatives about how to move and get into this space and grow. So like, yeah, it's not just a one trick pony.
I like it. I like it.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you feel that it's important that you do come like you said, like is there's no you're not really changing anything. Like this is how you dress, this is how I look, this is how I am. Like is that more of like a statement or that's just how you move?
I mean, it's a combination for sure. I mean, like, you know, we come from situations where a lot of our relatives and parents and grandparents had to change in spaces to be embraced in
Mhm.
spaces. You know, they had to code switch, they had to show up as this that, and the third. For me, like, you know, it's really about being unapologetic right now. And the other part is just like, you know, if you can take it from XYZ creator that's not, you know, the same skin, doesn't have the melanin or this that, and the third the same way, and they can show up
Mhm.
in there. Not wrong with 47 brand or nothing like that, but I'm a new era guy because that's what works for me. Now, man, you know, but they can show up in their 47 cap and their flannel on their t-shirt, and you can appreciate them and all this stuff. So when I
Mhm.
show up in something like that, it's a problem because you have like, you know, preconceived notions about me and stuff like that of my people. So,
Mm.
you know, I make sure that we are accepted in any space as we are because that's exactly what we need to be.
Mm. I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. Have you ever had like a fear of missing out on an opportunity because of the way you carry yourself or the way you may dress or something like that? Or just kind
Yeah.
not even gonna say that, just kind of really standing on business about like I'm not gonna change how I look just to get this opportunity.
Hey man, like keeping it a buck, like I said, I'm a big black man. Uh Seeing my work, you know, for anybody that's familiar with my photography work,
Yeah.
I've incorporated editorial and couture even into the sneaker space when I was doing that a little bit over a while ago.
Mhm.
That's not a I'm a big black straight man. You don't see people built like me in certain spaces
Mhm.
doing certain things. So like I wouldn't want to switch that up for anybody and I wouldn't want anybody coming after me to have to feel like, oh, I lost out on something. I'm a man of faith. So it's kind of like, you know, that's not what God wanted for me. That's God protecting me from something that's his protection. And that's not in alignment. Like, you know, like I know we want a lot of things, but sometimes like, you know, everything we want ain't everything we need. And sometimes when we
Mhm.
get it, you get across that finish line and then you realize everything that you imagined it to be isn't
Mhm.
what it is within reality. So like, nah, I'm good with anything that passed that didn't work out because of something like that.
I like it, man. If it's for you, it's for you. Can't nobody
Absolutely.
change that. I'm a strong
Absolutely.
believer in that. Um, I noticed that you do your photography and all those great things. Was there like a shift that you had to do to go from creator to a creative director?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so everybody calls themselves a creative director today. I hate that the title gets thrown around. But a lot of people don't know what goes into it. So like
Mhm.
you know, it's not just the artistic aspect, it's not just the creative aspect, you know, it's not just planning out or picking out the location. No, it's all that. It's every aspect to make sure everybody's paid, that all teams are funneled through and discussed and all that stuff. So like going from that individual creative into like understanding what I needed to be for a team and to run a team and to run a whole project and be the point of contact and all that stuff with a client or a brand or somebody like that. Like there was a transition for sure. Like, you know, it's you know, I grew up hooping. Or so
Mhm.
anybody that plays sports that was a non-individual sport, like, you know, you can get yours off. You can get your buckets, you can get your points, you can get your yards, you can get this, you can get your runs, whatever you needed.
Mhm.
But it's that same change to say, well, how do I make a team better? You know, how do I make it so my other players can see success in their roles too? So
For sure.
that's the whole big thing. So like I'll say that content creator is an individual into that creative director. The bridge between it is leadership. Not management, not bossing, not any of that stuff, but being a leader. So yeah.
Yeah, I like. I think you're the first person I've spoke with that actually spoke on the whole creative director. Like I feel like that and community manager is like one of those titles that you see everywhere now.
Yeah.
Even I have like said like whenever someone moves to another brand or a company, the first thing I yell is community leader,
Yep.
community manager,
Yep.
creative director, because it just seems like that name in itself, that title is just kind of being just posted, and let's just put it all together, and you're a
Yeah.
creative director. That's
Yep.
what you do. You
Yep.
and a lot of people feel like it's just this one thing of like, okay, post on social media, see the product, and that. But like you said, there's a lot more that goes into it. But
Absolutely.
as we speak about product,
Mhm.
there's always been like this thing about good product selling itself.
Yep.
Your work, you do videos, you do photography, you do it all.
Mhm.
Do you feel like that statement can sometimes be untrue? Like, do you feel that the pictures, the videos are needed for a product to sell sometimes?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I feel like Apple is the reason
Hmm.
why we kind of got into that world and then everybody else like followed suit. But I really felt like they were the first ones to lean on the product sells itself. We don't need like certain placements. Like even before Nike or
Hmm.
this and the third, I think they were really ushering that culture of the product sells itself. But I don't come from that because I came from sales a long time ago and was involved in certain stuff. And I kind of realized like I was always taught people don't buy products, people buy people. So like
Mm.
you for those that feel their bricks and terminology, whatever they are, they sit this and the third. How many numbers are shifting on certain shoes right now because certain demographics don't have a connection to it? The quality may be better, the material may be better, the price point may have only increased by a marginal amount. Like, if a product sold itself without the storytelling and all that stuff, for every GR that's extremely close, slightly
Hmm.
different than a collab, the GR
Yeah.
will fly off the shelves because it's a good product. But it takes that extra, maybe it's the hype, maybe it's the story, maybe it's how it's presented. It takes that extra push that people look at. So, like, the band commercial way back in the day did everything it did and put people in the pandemonium and all that stuff. Like, it made it what it was. Like marketing exists for a reason, and with all due respect, people still need to be told what to do. It's just how you do it, you know?
Nah, I feel that. I was speaking with Jason. He works with Saucony,
Yeah,
and
homie, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Shout out Jason, man.
yes, sir.
And when I was speaking with him, and I was like, I've never really checked for Saucony. And I was saying that not like they weren't doing a thing. It was just like it just never really pointed out to me. And
Yeah,
it was like maybe Saucony wasn't
we're
checking for
checking for
you.
you.
And I'm like, yo, that's real, because like maybe I wasn't the target consumer at that
Yeah,
time. Maybe there was a reason why it never really appealed to me, because
yeah,
it was never marketed to me. So
yeah,
like when you say people, buy people, not products, that stands true, because it's not always like just the product, it's just kind of how it's delivered. So when I was looking at your page, that question popped in my mind, like,
mm,
of course, a good product sells itself, but
yeah,
like when you have someone that can truly tell a story with, that can take some good visuals, that can just really create something around that product, like you can sell a bad product. And not, I can say a
absolutely.
bad product, but like a product that's just not appealing as it would have been if you didn't, there was no storytelling, there wasn't no picture, there was no video behind it. Now that you putting that behind it, you're selling that product a lot better than you would have.
Absolutely. I mean, and not saying it's a bad product, but like
Yeah.
look at Anthony Edwards' line. I mean, we saw how people reacted to the two when they saw the
Hmm.
leaks. And now people saying the
Hmm.
two may be arguably better than the one, but we saw all the marketing steam that came into that one. Like, that was a great set of campaigns that was reminiscent of the heyday of basketball footwear. Like that was
Hmm.
90s era marketing work. That some of that stuff reminded me of the penny ads. Like, him and his man's just joking about certain stuff and doing random stuff. And this in the moment, like you see where somebody looked and said, I'm gonna get the essence of these things. And for thing in a time and era where people say, yo, the shoe will sell itself. Adidas
Hmm.
ran with that, yo, the Yeezy and everything with the line, yo, to sell itself. We don't need this, we don't need that. Okay, now it's time to put into this in this way, and we see what polarizing marketing does. Like, that's going to be for generations, even
Mhm.
us that's like, his age, older, whatever it was, we can appreciate that. But for all the kids looking up to him, he just wrote the playbook. I
Mhm.
mean, he
Yeah.
changed life for them. They're going to say, oh, I remember that AE1 commercial with, it was
For
this, that, and the
sure.
third. Like, that's generational level work there. And that's what makes the difference,
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
the ads for the AE was yeah,
Yeah.
definitely definitely big on, like, how that product was pushed out. I mean,
Yep.
just because I was checking for it. Like, I wasn't checking for the initial shoe. Like,
Yeah.
it didn't really pique my interest. I'm like, it's Anthony Edwards, shout out, a good player or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just wasn't checking for a signature shoe.
Yeah.
But once you start seeing these ads and then just the personality
Yep.
behind the shoe kind of changes it. It kind of changes what it represents, what it
Hmm.
feels like to like what you're wearing, how you're wearing it. So yeah, definitely that. You work with a lot of brands.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the disconnects between what the brand wants and what the creative feel or consumer feel that the brand wants?
I mean, sometimes it happens. I mean,
Mhm.
it's anytime you have somebody focused on the bottom line,
Mhm.
like bottom line numbers and overall
Mhm.
profits and margins and all that stuff. And this is me speaking to the highest level because I'm not throwing no shade at nobody, but
Sure.
I've worked with the directors that I've worked with, my point of contacts on certain things. And then it's gotten
Mhm.
up to executive level, the highest executive level, C-level people, and they
Yeah.
didn't fully get it. Like, so everybody that worked on the project or adjacent to the project, in between the project, was like, this is the one, this is it. It gets to the
Mhm.
person at the top and they're so far removed. It's like, I don't get it. You know, it's all parts of culture, bro. It's all parts of life. It's we get older and start to not understand kids the same way because we can't relate anymore because of how much of life has happened. We move
Mhm.
and go someplace else. We dress different. We start to style ourselves different. We move
For sure.
differently. We can't relate to the same thing anymore. So, you know, it's often going to be that because most of us creators and the creatives are thinking of it at a ground level and at sometimes a broad level too. But at that you know executive level, that C level of things for people,
Mhm.
they're thinking about, stock prices. And is this
Mhm.
going to move the number up or down from a profitability standpoint? Like, is this going to impact the quarter different? Is this going to be this? They don't get it that way. So, like, that happens. And I understand. I give grace for it because it's like, yo, so many things come across your desk. Why
Mhm.
this is important may not relate to you. You can relate to what makes the other things work. But
Mhm.
the stories and the aspects that are important to us to include in the story, I'll fight for them at all times. And I'm always grateful when I have people that can fight for it. But
Mhm.
of course, at those highest levels, they don't always get it exactly. So that's very common for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I speak to more people that have more experience with working with brands and kind of like you said, speaking with those execs, like I've noticed that the conversations that we have on social media, and we feel like these are productive conversations, or we feel like these are conversations that the brands may want to hear or may want to partake in, and then like as I'm speaking to these people in the industry, they're like, "Yeah, I didn't know they exist." And nor does that really play a part in what we're looking at. I ain't gonna say it's discouraging, but it's strange because, like, man, like I know 50, 100 people that's like, oh yeah, this is what the brands want to hear. Well, this is
Yeah.
where the brands need to be, and the brands are like, yeah, nah, we're good. So what about and it's just crazy to me because like I've used that as like I ain't gonna say as a strategy, but I've used that as a way of like how I present this podcast or how I present myself on social media. Like, oh, I'm gonna have productive conversations. That's one of my themes.
Yep.
And then just to come to find out, like, it was a productive conversation, but it's not the conversation that the brands are really wanting to hear or really
Yeah.
care about. To
Yeah.
be honest with you, so like that, yeah.
It's a thing. And it's kind of interesting
Hmm.
because there's multiple schools of thought on it. You know,
Hmm.
uh, I can look at it at different ways. Like, so I'll try to give a best analogy I can.
Mhm.
Of course, when you're too close to the fire, and I think the fans are too close to the fire because the passion is there, you can't
Mhm.
see how big the blaze is.
Mm.
So I look at it in that aspect. But then another aspect that I look at it is like this: the most diehard fans on the planet, and I guess all kids were into it at a point, are like wrestling fans. Wrestling fans have the best vantage of what's happening in the match to say why so and so isn't good, they're not this, they don't cut
Mhm.
good promos, they're not in shape, all this stuff. But until a documentary comes out and says dark side of the ring or this, that, and the third to
Yeah,
show
yeah,
you
yeah,
what
yeah.
happens on the inner workings,
Mhm.
until you realize that Vince McMahon was running every line that somebody said on a teleprompter and adjusting it on the fly, you don't realize how much went into it. I'm not trying to give Vince McMahon his praise. Like, that brother got to deal, that man has to deal with all his stuff now, man. But,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so I understand the aspects that the diehard fans of this culture and this thing feel.
Mhm.
I ask certain questions. I say, all
Mhm.
right, well, what's your business acumen like? Okay. What's your sales acumen like? Because they're two different things.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you know about sales and retention? What do you
Mhm.
know about, logistical things to say, okay, why a date, why a this, why a material, why a change with this stuff? How often have you dealt with that in product? Okay, what levels of grace do you give to certain things just in walks of life? And then the other aspect I look at it from is, and this is the toughest part with it, you not the consumer they trying to reach.
You already
Mm,
buying the product.
right. You're already there. With all due respect, you here. I'm
Mhm.
not like,
Yep.
I love us and I really do, but
Mhm.
high heat and hype sneakers doesn't drive the majority of sales for the majority of these brands. It's less product, even if the price point is higher. If the stock is
Mhm.
less, even if it's slightly higher, the shoe that is being bought by the people that are walking in and walking out that don't give a damn about this. We are a large group of people, but there's a lot of people that don't really give a damn about footwear in that capacity. It's just a pair of shoes. The majority of the world owns 5 pairs of shoes less. And I mean sneakers,
Mhm.
dress shoes, something for an occasion, and a pair of boots and less. They got like 3 in a rotation and 2 of those other things. It's very
Yeah.
common for them. They're not us. They don't have the drop fronts. They don't got walls of kicks and this and the third. They're not worried about a release. They can't tell you what number of Jordan it is. They can't tell you what year in Air Max came. I think I remember these from the 90s or the 2000s, whatever it is. They can't tell you that in detail. We're
Mhm.
not the majority. I understand why that would make people feel like, and we are, can to an extent be the subject matter experts. And there are people sitting in seats at a lot of jobs that are there just because it's a job. It's not a career for them. But in the
Mhm.
same breath, I can't say a diehard would be better in that seat because you care too much and you be too blinded by the things that you're ignoring that also go into the role. It takes a good harmony. So it takes somebody that cares because there's a lot of people that don't care in those seats now, but it takes somebody that isn't obsessive over it to understand the
Mm.
balance of it. Like, you got to be a purist in the art form almost in certain things. You got to love a thing about it more than you love the product about it. So like this is why people that love the storytelling and the design behind a lot of shoes or this and the third or the little details go so far in the industry is because it's not an obsessive thing, but it's a love of the art type thing. It's a love of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Now, the things that you're speaking on, I feel like the obviously the average consumer doesn't really look at or know about. Did you have to remove yourself from like being the consumer or being the content creator to level up?
I mean, partially, but like some of this ideology, like I said, came from stuff I learned while I was in business before I transitioned
Mhm.
into journalism. Uh, so for me, the transition into journalism and then the content creation and consulting came afterwards. And then I grew to do everything that I'm doing now from an individual
Mhm.
level into this. So like even to stop at journalism by saying like, all right, yo, I'm getting this press kit or this press release for this shoe that's coming out, and not saying Jason as an example, I've known Jason for a long time, but people at Jason at another company who I've got a relationship with is like, oh, well, love this shoe. There's a pair that we were on the fence about that's not coming out. I really wish that one would have came out. So like,
Mhm.
it's really understanding the pain points of the people that are there and having real relationships with real conversations that has me looking at it this way to say like, I love everybody that stands, you know, hours and blocks around and is able to get their shoe or able to make a
Mhm.
memory. But it's that is a hard line between understanding it. Like you could be, like I said, too much of a fan of something and that kind of separates it. So I know for me, I've been a fan, but I was able to step back. I have a very big skill of being able to compartmentalize. So I can break things up with that way things. And like, social media made everything subjective when everything's objective, bro. Like, like
Mhm.
that's the thing, and we just got to remember that.
Yeah, I feel like as you know, as we collect sneakers, I feel like everything there's multiple sides of the story. So like let's say the Olympic Sevens, 2012, when they released to me where I was at in my point of life and just where I was at in sneakers, they didn't do well because I could go to the mall and I could look and see them again over and over. I was like, oh, I'll come back and get them. I'll come back and get them.
Yep.
Now, if I go on social media and tell that same story, they'll be like, bro, you really wasn't into sneakers because I remember Olympic Seven sold and they sold out
Yeah.
and so it's just like I feel like we have that same mentality when we're speaking on brands and stuff because we view the brand how we view them personally. I view
Absolutely.
Nike this way. I view Reebok this way. I
Yep.
feel like Nike's not listening. And then you have other people that are like, "Oh, and Nike's killing it. Nike's innovative and Nike's doing this and Nike's doing that." And then on the other hand, I'm like, "Well, they still ain't dropped the do the right thing threes. They just now dropping them. They
Yep.
not listening to the people. So like
Yep.
I get what you. It's definitely being able to know what's best for business and know what's best for you. And I feel like we all often get those two things confused. It's like, oh well, I would love to see this shoe release. I would
Absolutely.
love if y'all did it this way, but does that make sense for everyone? Does that make sense for the brand? So
Absolutely.
yeah. As you're in these big rooms, when did you get to that moment and you're like, if you ever had to get to that moment, if maybe you was already there, where you're like, I belong here. Yeah, I'm here and this is where I belong.
So, uh, I don't really idolize people. My father's a jazz drummer.
Mm-hmm.
Had some moderate success, but he would come home and be like,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh, yo, I opened up for so and so tonight. I opened up for
Mm-hmm.
this big name. I was playing before Eric Benet or Mint Condition and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Damn, like, I see y'all CD or y'all on MTV,
Mm-hmm.
VH, VH1, VHS, crazy, VH1, or Centric or whatever was playing those musics in that genre. Like, oh, these names. So like, people were always people to me. So like."
Mm-hmm.
That's one aspect I held, so I always talk to people eye to eye. This is even at the C-level, executive level. I'm going to talk to you directly and eye to eye. You may feel how you feel about me when I walk out the room, but at least while I'm there, it's going to be on the level. Um, but I definitely say, I always have those, yo, my life ain't a real thing moments. Like I laugh about it. I sit there. I had one of those this past week, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, was lucky enough to be in the North America and the US private office for Rolls Royce. And I'm like, I ain't got Rolls Royce money. Like, that's not where my bread is at. But I think about the fact to say, like, yo, the blessings and the things that happen in my life. So, like, one of those first major moments that I can really recall to when I say, not that I made it or anything like that, or like question supposed to be here, any of that, because I always felt like I was supposed to in good ways, because even hooping, like, played against some of the best of my time and all that stuff when it was really, really important. So um I'll say something that really made me feel like I made it past the barrier, was I was one of the select few that Nike brought out to LA when they made the announcement for the NBA partnership. So this is right before the Travis Scott collaboration and
Hmm.
partnerships start coming out. Travis has been doing a few Nike events. And for anybody that was moving around, remembers he was doing Air Max Day at that time. He was doing some of the other stuff. And he did this move in LA with them. A bunch of the NBA players are there unveiling the new jerseys. They've got a certain amount of people from Europe, a certain amount of people that Nike Asia brought out, a certain amount of people from the East Coast, which I was included in that group, and then a certain amount of people from the West Coast. And you look around and you kind of see who's around and who's doing
Hmm.
what. And it's like, almost like a freshman class of folks is what it felt like at the time, not a graduating class, but you move up and you watch each other's careers. So you kind of grow and see people move and level that way. So that's been something that was like really, really eye opening for me, to say like, oh, yo, this is going from you collecting and unboxing to you being taken seriously in a journalism capacity enough to be flown across the country from the East Coast to the West Coast for this major moment, you know, uh, with a brand you've loved your whole life and with the sport that was your passion for the majority of your life. So interviewing a lot of the players, talking to them in the moments, capturing the moments, all that stuff. Like it was a fly experience. That was one of those first ones where I was like, oh, I'm here, you know.
I like that. I like that. Has there ever been a moment you say that you've always felt like you belong or like it was supposed to happen? Was there ever a moment where you thought like, nah, I'm not gonna be able to do it, or like you just kind of wanted to give up, or you just kind of started double, questioning that, I'm supposed to be here.
I mean, it happens all the time. Imposter syndrome exists in all of us in different ways. You know, sometimes I look at it and I realize everything is God's grace. I always realize everything's God's grace and God's blessing, but like, everything could disappear in a second. You wonder if you really got the stability, like, as an independent person and all this stuff
Hmm.
without the traditional 401k or insurance plans or this stuff lined up to say, like, when you work, was it 52 weeks in a year, so was it like 26 checks, arguably, give or take 26,
Yeah.
27. Sometimes how it plays in some of the years when you work, you if at most jobs you're getting 26 to 27 pay cycles. you know when you do this independently and you're in a drought or a season, I mentioned that in a video now, recently. It's like,
Hmm.
you look at it and it's like, well, damn. And you hear people that don't know what it's like to live on that independent side. That's like, all right, yo, maybe it's time for you to run and tuck tail. Like, yo, it's time to go do something. You could go be a creative director at somebody's company. You could go do this, that, and the third. You can catch a 9 to 5 and all this stuff. Like, you can, and that's all doable. But like, yeah, man. So like, there's always going to be moments where you have and say, I never really doubt my ability. I never really doubt my skill or what my vision is. But there's moments where you think about the things that you can't control, and the
Hmm.
best thing you could do is have faith.
I like that. I like that.
Mhm.
So you talk about your ability and skill.
Mm.
Just looking at your work, what what is the process before picking up the camera, and once you do pick up the camera, what's the process? What's the what's the recipe?
I mean, for me, it's always planning it out, whether it is the styling. For me, it always starts at styling. So the
Mm,
funniest part is like, what is it I want to shoot and how do I want it to feel? Like, styling, then it comes down to aesthetic. Then it becomes the wear, because the wear becomes a character for me. Like the wear is just as important as the who and the what. So then it goes to the who. So, it's the what for sure, like what I'm looking at, what I want it to feel like. Then it's where I want it to feel. Where adds to that what, and then it's who do I want to involve. And then I think about some of the things that I need to look at from a creative aspect, or I need to elevate or evolve, or this, that, and the third, to build out a
mhm,
team from there. Goes into the planning, the conversations, the logistics, all that stuff. And I mean, the last aspect, and I don't know if somebody would do this first or some other people got different processes, we start to gear it out. Once we know everything, it's like, what equipment's necessary to build this vision. And once
Mhm.
you got your village to build the vision, you're good to go. So for me, it's the what, the where, and the who. Sometimes the why is always under there, and I know this is kind of vague in a sense, but for those that's listening and hearing me, like I said, like what am I capturing? You know, sometimes why goes into that. What am I capturing overall? What's it feel like? Where am I capturing this? Where am I building this vision of mine to create this world? Um, the who is the perfect fit for this world. So kind of like a movie, like, in
Mhm.
that sense of, somebody writes a script, then they figure out, who that script kind of fits for. Or maybe first they figure out like, where this takes place in this script. Like what's the setting, which I think is more common. Then they're like, who fits in it? So like, even though I never went to film school or that side of things, I probably follow it in the same traditional sense of how a lot of people do with filmmaking. And I think that's why I consider my photos to be stills, movies in still form. So yeah,
I like it, man.
yeah,
Just I feel like there's so many photographers at this moment and people that do the visuals and do the storytelling that and all we see is just what's posted and we look, oh man, this is a great product.
yep,
And I feel like we often forget the process behind it,
yeah,
what it takes to get there. Cause like you explaining that, like, I know there's multiple people that's listening to this and like, I would have never thought that we're asking those types of questions as I'm taking a picture. Me
absolutely,
myself, I'm like, I wouldn't ask those questions. I would just take
yeah,
the picture, make sure it's a good angle, make sure there's
mhm,
some good lighting, so we just see we see the finished product and we're like, oh well man, let me pick up a camera, get me an expensive lens and shoot this video or shoot this picture
yeah.
and it's definitely not that easy.
I'm more to it for sure,
What is something behind the scenes that you feel that would surprise people?
man. For me, and this is something that I and my company is known as, like, we hang our hat on as far as being a calling card.
Hmm.
Y'all will never know how many of your favorite projects, favorite moments, this, that, and the third came together in less than 10 days. Sometimes 7, sometimes 5. Some of your favorite moments you've seen and all this stuff, the ink wasn't even
Hmm.
dry. And I ain't even trying to say that to be funny. Like sometimes the
Yeah,
contract
yeah.
has been signed, sometimes it hasn't been.
Uh-huh.
5 days and counting. Sometimes you could plan stuff out for months, but with some of these things and some of these initiatives, they come by quick to a lot of people.
Mhm,
Sometimes it's like, yo, hey, 5 days to get this done. And I mean, can you find locations? Can you build a team? Can you
mhm.
cast? Can you get people paid? We can get you the budget in 3 days, maybe, or 3 days after, or 5 days after it's shot. But I got 5 days to get this done. I need this out on day 6. Can you get me finals in that amount of time? Can you start the production? Can you go into pre-production and planning, get up a
Mhm.
concept and idea, cast it, all this stuff, scheduled, booked, all that, and get it done in 5 days?
So what happens when you get that budget after the 5 days? Let's say you know spike the budget. Like who pay who pays for that?
I
Is that
mean,
out of your
yeah. I mean, so in certain
oh
moments, if something goes over and it's a really a big client want,
mhm,
you can ask for incremental. Like, you can ask for that additional budget, which
mhm,
sometimes can get approved. But when you're on a hard budget, and you go back and you can't ask, or you can't
mhm,
ask, when somebody says, "I've got no more funds, I've got no more resources for this,"
mhm.
you got to figure out. It's never about saying no. And I realize a lot of people mess up with this now. I realize people don't know how to negotiate. They don't know how to pivot. They don't know how to have further conversation to keep talks going. It's like, all right, somebody's dead set on a location and a certain talent.
Mhm.
All right, that combination of two things eats up more than what's reasonable for a production budget. All
Mhm.
right, hey, y'all aren't going to leave me with enough money to pay my people that you want to pull this off between
Yeah.
location and talent. You
Mhm.
know, and that's possible. Hey, like, yo, somebody wants video, multiple videos, needs a lighting crew, this that, and the third, wants a talent, this that, and the third. Let's say it was 10 racks, and that's not even a crazy budget, but let's say you got somebody that's asking for 5 of that, and the location you need is 3. So now you got 2,000 to pay crew and videographer, cinematographer, post, photographer if it's needed, everybody involved, craft services, insurances, all that other stuff. That's just me throwing out an example. That's never necessarily happened, but you have those moments where people ask for certain situations to eat up budget and
Mhm.
that eat up budget. So then you have options. You know, some people are just like, oh, I can't do it on that amount of money. All right, hey, if you have a relationship, not you, but the client has a relationship with the talent, hey, is there any room that we have to negotiate further with the talent?
Mhm.
Is this the final location that we have set for this? The first 2 options. You know, does it have to be this location? Can it be a location that saves us money, but also accommodates what you want in this? Can we figure out a way to do that? Can we accomplish this on less days or less hours? Do we need 3 days? Can we get it down to 2? Last option. Okay, hey, can we reduce the deliverables? So all those things first, which are, hey, is it possible? Last part is the real part. Okay, what you're asking me to deliver back, I can't
Mhm.
accommodate within this budget that way. You know, and it's not saying I can't do the job. So it's like, yo, all right, you wanted 100 final photos. Can we chop that down to 50? You wanted 3 videos. Can we chop that down to 2? You wanted 2 30 seconds to 60 second. Can we just do the 2 30 seconds? Can we do 130, 160? What works? 245s. Can we make this work in a different way? But like some people just get caught up in a situation, see that wall and run into the wall.
Mm.
And that's just life.
Have there ever been a time where like you have to speed up the process that we spoke about earlier, where you can ask those questions, but you got to ask those questions a little faster? Is like, what do you do in that instance?
I mean, of course. I mean, so in that aspect, you try to anticipate and be not assume, anticipate. You try to be solution based. You know, so I look at it that way. If you ever want to speed things up,
Mhm.
present the problem with the answer, not just the problem. Everybody knows what the problem is.
Mhm.
Hey, guys, I know we're going to run into this. This is going to be a question. Okay, I'm thinking
Mhm.
about approaching it from this standpoint to say we could do this here to solve for that.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people aren't solution based. You know, everybody always tells you what the problems is, but damn it, if you ain't gonna tell me what a solution is, then you're no good to me. So, like, you know, I prefer to have people around me that are solution based. So
For
everybody can
sure.
see what the problem is. You know, somebody ain't got to shape up. You're like, I know I need a haircut right now. I don't. Well, you know what? I knew you needed a haircut, but you ain't have time to do this. So I brought clippers to the set. Are you good with clippers? Come up
Yeah.
with the solution in that moment. You know, it's not like, oh, well, can we get a barber in here? This, that, no, what's the way to work around? And then you got to assess the situation too and then look at it and say, well, where can I shave a little bit off? I mean, so it's like this. My pops is also into racing, like one of the few black men that enjoys racing. It ain't NASCAR. He's an F1 guy. Lewis Hamilton's his guy, so I rock with it. Um, every racer in any moment in a car, you looking to shave time off. And for everybody that don't
Mhm.
race that like to go fast and can't relate to racing, anytime you've ever taken a road trip, you've been like, all right, yo, I need to get 10, 15 minutes off of this trip. I mean, to get to where I'm going. Anybody that's ever driven a distance in a car, you're trying to get there earlier, wherever it is.
Mhm.
It's that same type of thing. So you got to look at the situation and say, all right, where can I make this adjustment here? You know, and in that racing analogy, the biggest thing that I've ever learned from him, and it comes to like, you know, driving, and I think it applies to life, is like, you know,
Mhm.
you slow down into the turns and you power out. And people don't realize that about racing. Like this, if you can't drive, you'll crash. You think everybody speeds into a turn. You slow down into your turn and you power out once the car has grip again. So you find those pockets of ebbs and flows to say, I know when I speed, when I take my time. That's life. You know, if
Mhm.
I know these are the things that I can move through quicker, cool. All right, I know this needs more time and delicacy. I need to know that. you always got to assess that way to say, all right, I know what I need to spend time on and what I need to give less time to. So that's how I look at it.
You speak on like these things that you faced. Has there ever been a time where you're working on something and you're just trying to figure out like what I'm going through doesn't make sense, but later on you see later on down the line you're like, all right, now I see why I went through that. Now I see why it made sense. Has there ever been a moment like that for you?
I mean, for sure. I think there's a point in every person's time that does visuals that's really good at visuals.
Hmm.
The proper process is you're not supposed to start out leading. So, people buy cameras and skip that entire step of shadowing, being an
Mm,
assistant, all that stuff. I wasn't necessarily an assistant, but I didn't start out being lead on photo shoots.
hmm.
So when I was working with brands out the gate, they had me shooting everyday social content instead of the main campaigns. I was focused on the B box and stuff. Here
Hmm.
goes 100 products while the main shooter is shooting 15 total SKUs and they got the models. I'm doing flat lays and in a corner and all this stuff and trying to figure it out, not trying to bother anybody with my one light to make this work on somebody else's production set. So that was me being in a secondary role. There comes a time in every person that's doing secondary, like, oh, you think you colder, you think you better than the person that's doing A. And I say it this way. Had I not gotten a chance to cut my teeth and get the experience to see the flow and the pace of the game before just jumping in the game, I
Hmm.
would have made more mistakes. Like, yo, Kobe wasn't the man and wasn't starting out the gate. And when he got in and initially, there was mistakes. And then in that second year, he started to like take off as he understood the game. We see that more in football. We don't see that in basketball no more. You used to see it forever that, you know, a great quarterback backed up somebody, a great running back got a chance to see somebody else do it. Receivers the same way, being a part of the younger receiving core. So for me, I think that's the biggest thing of getting a chance to like see it all before I had to
Hmm.
jump out there and do it. Because if I'd have had it my way, it'd have been a shorter run for sure.
I think that takes of course a self awareness, but also to admit that like, all right, if I would have did this my way, or if I went the route I went, then wouldn't have worked out. Because a
Yeah,
lot of people I feel like once they get to the level that you're at, like looking back, it's kind of like, oh, well, I would have always been here. It always would have went this way, because I was meant to be here.
yeah,
It was already written. Yeah, it definitely takes some self awareness to
appreciate
realize, all right, I I'm glad I went the route I went. Um,
absolutely.
is there a creator that you would tell someone about, or like that you just you're watching, like, oh man, I love what they're doing.
I mean, it's a lot of people, it's a lot of homies, especially in the sneaker space. My man Nate Frost. Nate is
Hmm.
always dope. Been a real one with the culture for a long time. He's leaning into his photography and a new chapter and all that stuff. My man Henry, Henry Francis Francois. I gotta look at Henry's last name, but maybe Francis. I think it's Francis, his last name. Goes by
Hmm.
Henrock.
Yeah.
He's been around the game for a long time and he's done a lot of stuff. He's helped define a lot of stuff, and now he's putting his thumbprint in a different way with three stripes right now. Uh Ashley, homegirl, not your average Jane.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out
Super
Ashley.
fly, like, one of the best to do it. Love her, love everything that she's involved in. Uh Christina Faith,
For
one of the people
sure.
leading on the front side with a lot of things in the culture, and pioneering it from in a similar way the way I am.
Hmm.
He still has his love for sneakers and all that stuff and big productions and all that stuff. Like, just off top right now, like those are some people that come to mind for sure that I always appreciate, always love to see. Yeah.
What would it be your advice to someone that is trying to do what you've done or get to where you're at?
I would say build village, you know, really build village. And by that, I mean, like, in this digital age, we all say, oh, I know so and so, and I'm connected to this person. Like, nah, build people you can actually reach out to and have substantial relationships with.
Mm,
Make time for people, show up for people, connect with people that in you, invest in other people, invest in yourselves. I know a lot of people is cutting corners and they want to spend money on a lot of shit right now, just keeping it real. But like those
mhm,
things, like, build a community. And I don't mean an audience, I mean a community. And in order to be a community, you have to be a part of that community.
mhm,
And I ain't saying you gotta go create something or event or this and the third, but like the more people you can reach out to and say, hey, I was thinking about you to be involved in something, or
mhm,
ping this idea off you, the more it'll work out for you. And one thing I will tell all of my black and brown creatives for sure, I know we are in given our circumstances within this country and within the world, things are more dire. There's more of a sense of urgency with us for sure that things need to happen sooner than some
mm,
people that aren't black and brown have the luxury for it to not happen. But for those people that aren't black and brown, they could know somebody and it could be 8 years down the line and they'd be like, oh man, I got this thing that came across my desk and it was perfect for you. And you're the perfect person for this and it's going to change your life. When it comes to us, because our circumstances ain't the same. We don't get to wake up with that freedom. We have to focus on our responsibilities. We like to look at things that if somebody say they're going to do something or say, oh, yo, we going to build, we going to work, and it doesn't happen within that allotted time in our mind,
mm,
oh, that's cap. They was bullshitting. It's this and the third. They fake, they phony. And I know that you needed them to come through to make something happen, but don't write it off because that's something that somebody else could benefit from. Not saying another person, but another group of people. It don't got to happen immediately. And when it
mhm.
happens, it's the right time. With us, we need it to happen more so now or tomorrow. And if it don't happen then, it's like, oh, this was nonsense. It wasn't worth it. So like just try to
Mhm.
offer more grace in that capacity. Build community, offer more grace and be more understanding in that situation.
Yeah, I like that. I usually host what I like to call a Black Round Table. In the month of February, I have a bunch of Black creators that we sit down, we talk about Black culture, sneaker culture, and how we're gonna sustain it and push it forward.
Mhm.
And I always like to end with what is something that you're gonna do this year because I mean I like having Black History Month. It's nice, it's beautiful, but
Yep.
for me that's the month that we get together and we figure out what we're gonna do for the rest of the year.
I like that.
Cause it's just gonna be, Black history and Black culture all year long.
Yeah.
So we end with like, what's something that you're gonna do that's gonna help, push the culture forward. And one of the things that I said, I'm not gonna shy away from things that I went back on is I gave James Whitner a hard time.
Yeah.
Within that space, I was someone that had worked with him, kind of like you don't know what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff that you're not seeing that he's doing
Yeah.
or why this happened. All you see is what's plastered here or what's there, what's there. And most of the time it is negative stuff. Most of the time the videos that do well are negative videos.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me had to, step back and look at myself like, all right, you know what? You're not giving that person grace.
Yeah.
You're not because as you say, that sense of urgency, like I like that sense of urgency for black or brown person is different. It
Yeah.
changes your whole perspective on things. Like I gotta blow up now. I gotta do this right now because this opportunity may never happen again.
Yep.
Or your financial wealth right now is just like. I need this. I
Yeah.
really need for this to work out, man. I want
Yeah.
that financial freedom.
Yeah.
So it does get you your decision making and how you perceive a person telling you something or kind of not, coming through. But again, there's so many things that happen, like, yeah, I had this plan for you, but the budget wasn't there.
Right.
Or I had someone that was right there. Did you stay here, but this person's right here for me and it works better for my budget. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And a lot of things it's not that they didn't tell you. It's not for them to share. Like everything, I can't give you every single thing that went into this brand deal or this campaign just to make you feel better. Um,
Absolutely.
So yeah, so that giving grace, I definitely feel like that's one of those things that we have to do as a collective, and that's one of the things that I still work on to this day. You know, it's kind of like before I speak out to this person, let me try to figure out what happened here.
Yeah.
You know, I try to put myself in their shoes and be like, well, why didn't this person reach back out? Why
Mhm.
this person didn't do this? Well, you know what I'm saying? Before I go on a whole rant and tangent about like, well, nah, that person ain't what they say it is. This person
Yep.
ain't doing what they say they
Yep.
doing. They not doing this, they doing that. Because we get lost into it. And again, the content that we're fed, you know, we'll we'll go along with it before we even know. And then you gotta remove yourself and like, all right, let me reset, let me recalibrate myself and figure out where I'm supposed to be and where I was originally wanting to do. One question I like to before we get to the showcase shoe, I like to end with is legacy. When it's all said and done, what do you want to leave in this space?
That is possible.
Mm,
Like, I ain't a tradition. I told you, stature, build, and all that. I'm not the
mm-hmm.
traditional any of this. Like, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I come from this, but I wasn't.
Mm,
I ain't go to school. I didn't go to this. I didn't go to that. I didn't have the natural trajectory. I'm with all much love to them. I'm not in the Greek life, so I'm not connected to a bunch of people through that aspect of certain things. Like, so
mm-hmm.
you know that you can wake up and turn something you love into something that could change your life forever. It's possible. If somebody like me, my background, my story, my this, my that, the way I am can have these things,
Mm-hmm.
anybody can. And I want people to remember that it's possible. And that God is gonna give you things that are for you and unlock things for you that you never knew what that you grew up, never knew you even could do this or anything like that. It's always possible. So
Mm-hmm.
I always want people to remember that.
I like it. It's
Yes, sir.
possible. So let's get into the showcase shoe. You got a showcase shoe for us?
I got shoes, if that's all right.
Okay.
Is it with an
No,
S?
no, hey, man, that's hey, I like it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, so it's all three the same model, but we got some special joints here. So we,
Okay.
just time wise, I know a lot of people don't see these
Yeah.
Back to the Future, Marty
Yes,
McFly
sir.
shoots.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes, sir.
we know these. We know these hyper dunks. I'm a
Mm-hmm.
storyteller, so it makes sense. But most people don't know this hyper dunk. Now it's still in the plastic right now. We'll see if I can get
Mm-hmm.
up good on these. So when the movie came out and all that stuff, Biggie,
Okay.
there's a black pair and there's a white pair.
Uh-huh.
Now y'all saw me lead with Sky's the Limit. So I got this Biggie sample for the
Mm-hmm.
movie when the Notorious movie came out,
Mm-hmm.
Hyper Dunk. Sky's the Limit is my favorite, probably one of my favorite Biggie records. It was the one as a kid that really stuck out for me. I loved the video, all that stuff right after he
Yeah.
passed. And, Big floated on that. And we know Clark Kent produced that. I started with Clark.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to end with Clark in that same sense.
Wow.
This is another one of those 112 hyper dunks. And Clark knew
Yeah.
about these for me and this being in my collection. These are actually autographed by him. So these are signed by him. It's one of my, coveted pairs of shoes. I got them off somebody because he asked me, he's like, yo, where'd you get those? Like, cause he knew who had them and who he
Yeah.
signed them. And I was like, dog, can't even fully remember who to tell you from. So it wasn't even a homie. But I just came up on these. So a little
Yeah,
bit of
yeah,
hyper
yeah,
dunk
yeah.
love, one of my favorite shoes. I haven't worn them yet. I know they've
Mm-hmm.
been worn once or twice. They're not separating or anything like that. But with them autographed, I'm probably just always gonna let them sit. And
For
that's what I
sure.
wanted to bring out today. Something everybody don't see all the time.
And there goes the KO. We came out swinging, and he and there was a knockout right there. Yeah, there it is, man. 3 punches and he's down. Down
And
goes Frazier.
appreciate
Down
you, brother.
goes Frazier.
Appreciate you,
Nah,
man.
man. I mean, I appreciate you, hopping on
Mm,
the podcast, man. Again, time is valuable. You provide some very informative insight. And that's what I aim to do, man. Productive conversations, real people, real conversations. Conversations that we may not be having, or conversations that need to be had, or conversations that we may feel are uncomfortable to have. And I
absolutely.
always feel like the brown and black conversation is definitely always uncomfortable. I even ask people that listen to my podcast that are not, that are not of color, and I'm like, hey, how does it feel to listen to those conversations? And
Yep.
I want you to be completely honest with me. And they sometimes tell me like it is. I ain't gonna say uncomfortable, but it's like it's uncomfortable,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it. I still try not to stray away from that because these conversations need to be had, and if you really support me in what I do, then you'll still listen to those conversations. You'll still
Absolutely.
support me, listen to the pod, and give me that listen, and you might get a different outlook or a different perspective.
For sure.
But what do you have any closing remarks for the people listening, and watching?
Oh man, listening and watching, man. Hey, simple as put. Go
Mhm.
where you love, not where you tolerate it. That's all I got.
Mm. Go where you love and not where you tolerate. So that means when them brands hit you up, no,
Hey, that's what I'm
hey,
saying.
no.
That's real. I know everybody chasing certain people and stuff like that. If
Mhm.
somebody's giving you the love, go where you're loved, not where you're tolerated.
Mhm. Nah,
Man.
that's real, and that goes for a lot of things, man. That you like
Hmm.
you said, simply put, that goes for life.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, that's where we're gonna end it, my guy. Well, as I always say, guys, love, peace, and sneakers.
Retro 7s, retro 3s, metallic silver, retro 11, sitting on freeze. They got soul. Yeah. Soul brothers.